What about this whole WEVA thing? You know, we haven't really talked about that. How does that work? A lot of people who watch this don't even know what WEVA is.
Tell us, Patrick.
Well, I think Ron, I mean...
Why is it coming to me?
Ron is
Give it to the
WEVA.
black guy. That's right.
I think WEVA, out of all the organizations, has the reputation of being a little bit more old school, traditional education, that kind of thing. I've never personally been, so I can't say if that's the case.
You've never been to WEVA?
No, but I think I hear Ron stocks the website daily, so he can probably speak to it better.
Yeah, WEVA's been around a long time, and I want to start off by saying it's done a lot for this industry in terms of getting gear, in terms of making the kind of changes in the industry that are necessary. With that said, it's gotten to a point where people of this caliber weren't getting the kind of education that they needed. Work wasn't fresh, the education wasn't where it needed to be to take people to the next level, and an organization came out of it called the Forever Group, which has since folded due to scandal and controversy. But you start seeing these splits in the wedding and event video association world, where now you have groups like Reframe, which is trying to do something completely different in terms of how it educates it. And then there were 6 partners in Reframe, and then they split into 2 different organizations, Reframe and InFocus, and now you have WEVA. They're all trying to offer something to the wedding filmmaker that no one else can offer, and all these internal rivalries and infighting started going on that started with the WEVA and Forever Group breakup, and it's kind of like polluted the industry to the point now where you have like these battles going on.
What are the battlegrounds?
If you're the cool wedding filmmaker, you're going to go to this group, and if you're the old stodgy wedding filmmaker, you're going to go to the other one.
Okay, so what's so bad about that?
Everybody at this table is speaking at a number of them.
Right. That's true. We may not be after this episode airs, but
no, but I mean,
but I think they all.
WEVA could be speaking to the videographer more.
I think that they're all trying to be progressive and great. The image that they are perceived as may not be so.
When I think they have varying levels of success.
I'm going to call you on that, man. Here, that's getting a little too. You're politically being correct there.
I'm gonna say, cut right there.
Of course,
I agree with Patrick. I agree with Patrick. WEVA is definitely more of the established old school. This will be my first year.
But does it speak to 90% of the videographers?
WEVA is huge. WEVA's got the 3,000 in attendance. Reframe, I think it's like 150.
It was 50. I think InFocus came out and then they went up to like 150.
I think that the distinction is there. I mean, WEVA is trying to draw the biggest crowd that they can. Reframe is the small crowd, and InFocus is the in-between crowd.
Okay, well, I don't see anything wrong with that.
WEVA is a perfect example of how an industry or how a company can hurt itself by not evolving. Because the only reason why organizations like Forever Group, which is now defunct, and Reframe and InFocus were started is because WEVA wasn't offering something that people have been clamoring for. People want to be able to see the kind of work that these guys are doing. People want to be able to learn branding and marketing on a level that has never ever been taught before at WEVA. I mean, it's the classic story of where you create your own competitors because you create a vacuum. I think competition is great. I think what's hurt the industry is when these organizations are all fighting.
You know, and from a business perspective, I think there's even an additional component to this, and that is the revenue stream of instructional DVDs.
Yeah.
I don't want to see us preying on each other. I mean, we have so far to go as an industry in terms of establishing legitimacy, respect, and furthering the art that we're not, hey, I'm going to make money off my fellow videographers.
Yeah.
You know, I just don't want to see that happen, and I think that in some cases it may be going that way.
I mean, I can't speak too much about InFocus because they're relatively new. I think with WEVA, there was a lot of controversy because when some of the people who were popular speakers at WEVA started to speak at other organizations, they were blackballed by WEVA. And then that caused a lot of controversy. And then WEVA finally kind of brought them back in the fold and so forth. I think competition is great, but it's sad to see leaders in the industry who we're supposed to be following in battle with one another. And it's sad to see an organization like WEVA that has done so much for this industry. I don't want to make little of that, but get to a point where it is kind of stale, you know, in terms of the kind of it's teaching, and people are feeling like they're not.
It's stale, maybe, for, you know, again, we're talking about the top 5% of the market here. You're talking about, what, 150 people that, you know, this is not like you got 10,000 that are moving over, you know. They speak to an audience, and they probably do it really well if they can get 3,000 people to show up at a convention. Not to your level, okay?
And I think there is a way to create an experience.
Nobody's going to speak to everyone's level.
Well, I think there's a way to create an experience for filmmakers at this level, but it's not necessarily in a 1 hour eyewitness format. I think that there is opportunity for, say, an experience to be had on a different level.
You're saying there's still something that's still missing.
Being more of an active participant versus just a viewer.
You have to come out of this experience with a changed perspective.
Right.
Almost, you know, they say, write what you know. So I feel like there is a void where perhaps an experience can be created that would enlighten anyone in attendance to come out of that experience and say, well, I never saw this certain thing in that way.
Right.
I'll just leave it at that.
I can see how a reframe would speak to certain people. I don't know about In Focus, and I could see how a WEVA could speak to certain people. If WEVA tries to speak to the top 5% and every single other person, that's not going to be...
Yeah, so that's not what I'm saying. I think what he offers is different than what he offers. So, but they're friends, you know, and I think they both push the industry forward. When you have two leading industries that are actually pulling the industry apart because they agree to speak someplace else.
I think the reason
silly.
that's a business.
Of course,
it's a business decision.
I think it's a poor business decision, and I think it's one where, like, if I were running WEVA, there would be no reframe in focus because WEVA is big enough to offer enough chunks or enough channels where it could capture the reframe audience and the In Focus audience if it really wanted to.
There's an ass for every saddle. Go on. And what about WEDFAC?
That's a forum.
Yeah, I think you got to sort of include the forums because some people invest their time there.
You know what?
A lot of people are saying, though, right now, when I just saw on one of the forums the other day, people asking about the value of WEVA, and they were saying that they get more out of WEDFAC and actually being an active participant than going to WEVA.
One of the main reasons to go to one of these things would be to network, to meet all of the people that you meet on WEDFAC.
Right.
I mean, you see all these people, they're blogging online, and it's nice.
It's a lot of money and time to meet.
I'm just saying that is one of the prime motivators.
Ways. I mean, this show is another way. You know, I mean, how about that? I mean, here's a way where people can kind of get to know you in a very different way than being a speaker. There's blog posts, there's forums. When WEVA came out, there weren't all these kinds of interesting ways. I mean, this is my thing, but I don't understand why there isn't a program wrapped around WEVA.
But WEVA has an audio podcast.
Yeah, but I mean, it's different than...
I think you're going back to what Patrick said in that WEVA is more of the traditional guard.
My whole thing is just the way they all go about doing it, I think could be...
They're not working together.
They're not working
to push
together.
the industry.
The best way to learn is just watch the other people. Here's the coolest part. Years ago, when you didn't have the internet, I had no way of ever seeing anyone else's wedding video.
Sure.
Okay? In 1981 to 1984.
I don't think we would have been produced our concept film if it wasn't for the internet.
Yeah.
Well, but now everybody can watch all this other work. I mean, I see stuff and I get ideas. I don't know what you know, I don't have a film school and all this other kind of
We can wrap that discussion.
That you guys are talking about, but
we can take that right over to the fact that Patrick's getting ripped off shot for shot.
well, that's unfortunate, but I'm...
But did you actually hear about that?
No.
I mean, we actually had somebody take a piece and they produced the same thing, same soundtrack, and they must have had an iPod there because it opened up scene for scene, same composition, completely different couple. Same way.
I hate to tell you, man, that's going to happen. Make your peace with it, okay?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
people are ripping our products off all the time.
I thought it was cool. I was laughing running around this.
People say that shit all the time. It's not, I mean, when people start ripping
It's a cultural phenomenon. It's a compliment.
It's the same thing in the products business. You know, we come out with a concept of, you know, quick releasing arms and whatnot. All right, so somebody rips us out. We're already on 10 new things.
I never said I didn't like it. I enjoyed seeing that. I thought it was funny.
He actually has a very
and so I share the exact same attitude.
I don't find it funny, but
we're always oh no, if you see this thing, I mean, it is funny.
Yeah.
I feel terrible for the couple that had, you know, a completely unoriginal thing produced for them, but it was funny when I first saw it.
but wait a minute, to them it could be pretty good, you know.
We also have people who will take 3 or 4 of our same day edits, cut the first 30 seconds with the second 30 of another one, and that's their demo reel. Or they'll take it right off our website and put it on theirs. I mean,
the web is a two-edged sword here. I mean, it's an amazing learning tool.
Well, like you said about the quick release, I put the responsibility squarely back on Patrick as an innovator whose work is now so indelible, it is a cliche, to continue innovating and continue moving forward as an artist and as a voice. You're the one who's got the responsibility to continue moving.
Well, and I think, I mean, Ron posted something on WebFact about us getting copied, and not just directly copied, but people, you know, taking our style, and we didn't respond. And I would say that's because our response is to just push push ourselves.
Right.
I mean, we're not watching what everybody else is doing. We're focused on creating original films for our couples and taking it to the next level.
It's better to be first, you know. It's like I feel like my whole life people have been, you know, like it's like we'll come out with something and it's like somebody comes up and we're on to something else. It's like you got to constantly be reinventing yourself, like Madonna or something.
So you've had a history of being first. What would you say to the person who is copying somebody else to bring him to that level?
Some people are copy artists. That's all you can do. If you don't, you know, some people have some original creativity that can, and I think we're all talking about that today, who have sort of kind of invented their style, and some people copy, you know.
So you think if they're copying, then they just have no original creativity?
My grandmother is an artist, but she cannot make an original painting. She can copy any painting you want. I got paintings all over my house. They're all kind of copies of great paintings and whatnot. But she cannot make an original painting.
Well, I think off the topic of these seminars, Patrick invites people to a studio. He has a seminar. So I know that there's an argument that, well, when you invite people to your studio, you're going to obviously generate copycats. But I know for a fact, having spoken alongside Patrick, that one of his prime goals, and my goal as well in speaking with him, is to not really just do, this is how you do something.
Exactly.
But why are you doing it? What's the motivation behind it, and how are you being inspired?
Here's the thing that I think is the most interesting is, you know, you said that some people, you know, just aren't that creative, and some people can just do a good job copying. But I think some people are both. They can be creative, but they can also just copy, and they can do a good job at it. It takes more work to take the ideas and be original. And I think the people who are willing to invest the time to take that, to ingest it and make something new, are the ones who are going to, you know, be at the top of our industry, who are going to be able to get the prices they want. But I don't think that they actually get that. They stop and say, well, this is good enough. And then they complain on forums about why they can't charge enough, or why their market is so depressed, and all of these things. They don't realize that.
There's also a false argument that there's only so much to do at a wedding. It's it's a fixed event. There's these events that are, you know, these chronological things that are getting ready, ceremony, reception, done.
No.
And I mean, there's so much opportunity and possibility.
Yeah. Let's have a toast. Yeah. Wait, you got no wine left? You got a sip in there.
I think Kevin's drunk, actually.
Give me a sip of yours.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's have a toast to cast, I don't even know what number, 5.
Cast 5.
And this was a lot of fun. It was great. I mean, when I met you guys at NAB, I mean, we had a really good time. We knew that something magical happened at that moment, because I just felt
I think you were calling for cameras to be recording then, right? So.
That was fun. I don't know. I just felt it, man. You know, and it's great to have you here in our own place. Absolutely. You know, you've been here before. It's great to have you back, and this was just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us.